Good morning. Welcome to Gruber Power Services Power Hour. My name is Claude Dixon, and these two wonderful people to my left are not going to introduce themselves. I'm going to do it for them. So to my extreme left over here, we have the E-box. Okay, I went to my closet. I got two boxes in there, the E-box and the G-box. And it was time to break them both out for this podcast. So the E-box is Elvis Venter over here. He's back. He was one of the co-hosts on the show, one of the main co-hosts on the show for about, 37 episodes, something like that? He went a long time, and then I had to give him the hook. No, I'm just kidding. No, he was outstanding at what he did. And then the G-Box. Let me tell you about the G-Box real quick. He's appeared on 2 past podcasts, but here's the thing with that box in the closet. When I blew the dust off that box in the closet, I mean, it went poof all over my face. And I opened it up, and this guy was inside of it. This is Grant Mobell, and Grant is in his first week with GPS. He's tracked along with this company for quite a long time because I've been here 16 years, and he's tracked along, listened to my ups and downs, that type of thing, and he's going to be an account manager in Northern California, and he's literally in his 4th day of employment. So, Grant, what are your thoughts so far after 1 week?
Wow. First of all, it's an excellent culture of a company that I've possibly ever could have been with other than when I did work with my dad. This is the type of culture of a company that brought me out of retirement. Wow. I was retired before 4 days ago.
Right.
So
for how long?
For a couple of years.
Wow.
Actually, I retired back in 2023. So really enjoy so far the 4 days of a wealth of information that I've gotten thus far, and everybody that I've met within this company. This is the kind of culture of a company that I've always liked to work for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we set Grant up on a 4-day training schedule where he had the opportunity to get trained by some of our best. And when I say some of our best, I mean both in tenure, but also in skill and just positivity. And I wanted him to see that because he's going to be remote. He's going to be, based in California, so he's not going to get to interact with these people up close and personal. So it was good for him to come in for a week and meet who he's going to be dealing with. That's great. That's good news. That's really good news.
But he didn't come in solo.
Yeah, he didn't come in solo. The other gentleman, hey, James, come on over here for a second. I just want him to see your face.
He does this, put people on the spot.
Yeah,
that's Claude's forte.
He's in his first week too. They drove here from Northern California. They're both based in Rockland, which is a suburb basically of Sacramento. And this is James Vega. You want to say a couple words about just what your experience was?
Man, pretty much the same thing. So much going on immediately. You could just tell that the vibe within the place is just great. Everybody inside has your back. Everybody wants you to succeed. Everybody wants to help you. Overall, 10 out of 10 for this week.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, sir. And both of you gentlemen, welcome to the company.
Welcome to Gruber Power.
Yes. So Grant's going to take us out. That's one of the quotes I like to use from Star Trek. Captain Kirk sits in his chair, and he says, "Take us out." So I'm telling my guy here, take us out, Grant. What do you have from a did you know standpoint here?
So I get to do the did you know, and my did you know or do you know when was the first quartz watch introduced into the world?
Quartz watch.
Okay.
Quartz watch, meaning it has battery and it has quartz as a oscillator in order to run the watch movement.
Okay, so his question was, what year?
What year?
Yes, what year? So we're going to do not cheat. And I'm just going to call it like it is. I'm not going to say do not Google. I'm just going to say it straight up, do not cheat, and go to Google and look it up. Use your brain power and just come up with a number. What year? So as you guys are doing that, we're going to transition back to the cell phone because there's 12 minerals in a cell phone and a smartphone. We went through the first 8. Now we're going to just quickly cover the next 4 that we have. Let me pull up the slide here real quick. So those were the first, I believe there's 8 there. 1, 2, let's see, what is that? Yeah, there's 8 there. So those were the 8 minerals that we went over in the last 2 shows. So the next 4 are mimetite, orpiment, bismuth, and gibbsite. They're just absolutely phenomenal and beautiful. I do not have an example of the other 3 outside of the bismuth, but I do have on the desk here an example of what bismuth looks like in the raw state. Typically, it's gray to pinkish. This has been heated, and when you heat bismuth, the crystals turn into a phenomenal shape. You can see that in these samples I have here, and of course, they're very small, but the mineral that's on the slide is actually the mineral that I have here on my desk, so you can kind of like see what it looks like. And there is a crystal that basically has formed. It looks like a prism. They're very unique. Most of them are made in the lab, although it does occur naturally as well. But when you find it naturally, it's more a grayish, silvery, pinkish hue color. And then when you heat it up, it turns into basically a rainbow color. This is a phenomenal mineral right here. So this stuff right here, believe it or not, is used for the casing of the cell phone. Okay. The other minerals, the mimetite is used for the microprocessor. Anything associated as far as minerals with the cell phone, the other 2 address that too. So you have all these wonderful minerals in the phone that you're carrying around. I think it's pretty amazing. Okay. So we do have some things that have come back up there. Let's see. We got YouTube, Gruber Motor Company, welcome the GPS grant. We've got YouTube, Lenny Hodges, good morning, the 3 amigos.
Morning, Lenny.
Okay, and we have a 19, Grant, why don't you address that one right there?
So we had a good guess, 1868 in reference to the Quartz watch, and it's a decent guess, but believe it or not, it's 100 years later. 1969 was the first, on December 25th, 1969 is when the first mass-produced Quartz watch came out. And believe it or not, I don't know if you know this, that the Quartz watch has quartz in it, but it's synthetic. Synthetic, and then they fashion it, that little piece of grain of sand almost, into like a pitchfork type shape in order for the oscillation of the vibration in order for the watch to run.
See, that's amazing to me, because he pointed out a mineral that you also find in a cell phone, and it's funny too, that mineral, that quartz mineral in the cell phone is also synthetic. Okay, I call it fake quartz. If you want to see some real quartz, this is what they don't deal with. This image of this Himalayan quartz sitting on the desk right now, you can see it right here. This thing was mined from 18,000 feet in the Himalaya mountains in India. Okay, the mine has since been closed, so this is like a very, very rare crystal. The mine has since been closed due to safety reasons, people, fatalities and things like that. So the other thing that's really interesting too is that it's all hand dug. So there's no machines, none of that up there at 18,000 feet. The Sherpas actually carry these crystals back down on their backs. So pretty amazing, interesting stuff. But back on the watch here. So you're talking about a fork, 1 grain of sand, crystal. 1 little grain of quartz crystal does this.
And what that does is, quartz is piezoelectric, and piezoelectric is basically dictating the speed of the vibration. And the reason why it's a synthetic piece of quartz is because it's more stable.
Okay.
In order for the oscillation, and it happens at 32,768 times a second.
Wow.
That vibration.
And why is quartz so significant to the watch and such a groundbreaking element?
Good question. The reason why quartz is because of the piezoelectric properties that particular mineral has, where electricity is able to flow through there easier. So you need something to run that, like a battery, a 1.5 generally volt battery will then oscillate that quartz.
Now you're talking
in
our
order
language,
to make
batteries.
that movement run smooth and stable.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is everything he's talked about is basically our language. Even the silica and the quartz. That's all. That's all on the circuit boards. There's silica on PCB boards. That's in everything that we do. And then he brought up the battery, which is really, really interesting. That first battery that ran this watch right here. You know what the mineral was in that, Elvis? You want to guess?
Cobalt.
Okay, I'll give you 3 guesses. Keep guessing. It's on the right-hand side of the table, of the periodic table of the
Pull
elements.
up the table.
Okay, let's do that.
Since
Yeah, you're gonna burn your 2
help
on
me
that.
out a little bit.
I know
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay,
Right side. Of course you know.
2 more guesses.
Zinc.
1 more guess.
Oh, man.
Starts with an M.
Magnesium.
Think of a thermometer.
Oh, mercury.
Yeah, mercury, which is a nasty mineral.
Oh, yeah.
You know, very, very nasty. But yeah, so this is fun too. This chart we have right here. Everybody remembers this chart. Maybe not in the last 15 years with some of the stuff they've been teaching in school. Maybe not, because they don't teach science anymore in school. But we remember this chart, the periodic table of the elements.
That's the truth.
I used to run from this. I didn't want to learn this. I was like completely tripped out when they put this chart up and start talking about it. But man, boy, today I love this chart.
Wasn't it a little bit smaller too?
Yes, there were 89 elements in 1981 on this chart. I believe there's 118 now. 118. And of course, I said this last week. You see that horizontal row at the bottom of blue minerals? You see them? What's the first one on the left? I can't really read it. What's the first 2 letters?
LA.
LA. You hear about this thing called rare earths. This is what they're talking about on the periodic table.
So the
They're
blue stuff is rare earth?
Yeah, the dark blue stuff
Dark blue.
is rare earth. There's 15 rare earths right there, and then there's another 2 in the light blue, scandium and yttrium. The top 2 on the left, light blue, those are also considered rare earths, rare earth minerals. So Elvis,
Yes.
hello, Elvis. Hello, Elvis.
Wait, man, I got a customer needing something.
Hey, take it. We can wait. Go ahead and take it. We can wait.
No, I got an SO. That's
Hey,
all I need.
But listen, it's on you now. You're gonna take us out. So we're gonna delve into what the subject matter is today, which is
Power modules and battery modules for the uninterruptible power supply.
Yes.
And last week when I was watching the show, you were referring to, because the short version is UPS. So it's actually either uninterruptible power supply or uninterruptible power systems. It could be one or the other, but we've shortened it to UPS. And power modules and battery modules, what I want to talk about is because if you're in this industry, you have to be familiar with them. And there are different sizes, different versions because of the power, the kVA, the kilovolt voltages. And that's why they're very important, because the power module is a part of the electronic component that houses all the parts inside and it generates power. So power module is important for a UPS because it's uninterruptible power system. So this gives you power and can operate in a certain range. If it's 2 kVA, 3 kVA, 1.5 1 kVA, and up to 1,000 kVA or megawatts is what we call that. So power modules are very important. And I love this screen, and we have a few different ones. There's like a little show and tell of the very common ones that we support. So we sell these.
Yeah, Elvis, before you delve into that,
Correct.
just real quick, the power module converts and regulates
The power.
electrical power,
Correct.
energy. Okay, just so you know what the function
Yes.
is.
And it's interconnected to perform a specific power conversion and a control function. So it's within that realm of what we're doing with, and it's designated, again, like he said, for AC/DC power supplies. So it's also designated for that. So these power modules, what's really fascinating and great about them too is they're not that big. We're talking about anywhere from like 10 to 20 pounds all the way up to maybe like 70 to 80 pounds. The 25 KD might be about 100, 110 pounds.
And that's the one down there.
all the way.
Yeah, down on the left there. That's the largest.
The one you're hanging out with.
Well, actually, that's not the largest one, Elvis.
Don't they have them in the Teslas and the electric vehicle chargings as well?
They have certain power
modules.
Yeah, they're not like huge, but there's power modules in
There's
there.
power modules in them, small ones.
Yeah. Hey,
That's not the largest.
Yeah, that's
Please
not.
continue.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah.
So there's another one that's not pictured here. It's a power module that goes to a megawatt. Elvis actually sold how many? Did you
So I sold 15 of them because
Yeah.
it's 67 kVA
Humongous.
per power module, and it's 3 inside a box to give you the, I think, 200 kVA in one box, and 5 of those is 1,000 kVA. So it's a megawatt.
Yeah.
So I've sold that to a customer, and that's the largest that I've come across. But I just experienced something in that realm when I was at a customer site this past week, Microsoft, and they had the 750 kVA Schneiders VPXs or VXPs. They're like brand new.
How many were in there?
Only one section I saw was 750 kVA, one UPS, and I saw like 25 setups of those for one data center.
Okay.
So there was thousands, maybe 40, 50,000 kVA of power or more, because I only came across like 20 setups of the 750 kVA.
So it was a very large application.
Huge applications, the brand new. So these power modules is something, again, that we're saying we sell them, we repair them, we refurbish them, and then we also carry new, or we can supply brand new.
Yeah.
But these are from, anyways, the two main ranges that we work with is the single phase and the 3-phase. And some of these words might be buzzwords that you remembered from this past 4 days, that you've been coming across a single phase and a 3-phase. And the easiest way to explain that is a single phase has a 240 volt, 208 volt, and 3-phase is the 480 volt. Even though it can do 208, is the voltage. And then we have the 120 volts, and that's what those are the UPS units that go on those type of grids, that type of electrical configuration.
Yeah, and another way to explain it, I like to, I'm talking single phase and 3-phase, I like to just make things simple.
Let's make it,
because some
please.
people just make this thing like so complicated.
Correct.
So a single phase, when you're thinking of conductors, and a conductor is basically a wire, right? So you have a single phase, one phase, right, and you have a ground.
Correct.
Single phase. A 3-phase, you have 3 A, B, and C.
And
Okay, a ground and a neutral.
Neutral. Yep.
Okay, so there's 5 wires. So when
So
you
there's
look at the
5.
back of a UPS, you can like see what's coming out of it and say, okay, yeah, that's a 3-phase. You're going to know because of the size, but
Correct.
if you're electrically thinking about it, that's what it is if you're looking at the back side of a UPS. So
And-
Elvis, one other thing too with these power modules, this is across brands, correct? There's more than just APC.
oh, yes. So this is our APC, the modular UPSs, and there's still more modular APC, like the Galaxy Schneiders,
Yeah.
the VSs, the VTs. That's even more variety of power modules. But these are
So
just
when
a
you say
few.
modular, you're meaning it's all in one unit.
Yes, and the modular is the great word of the hot swappable, that we can take them out while the UPS is still running.
Yeah, because look at these, Grant. If you look at these on the screen, look at the one at the top left. So you're gonna pull that one out like this. You see? All right.
It's smaller.
Yeah. You look at the one in the middle. Same thing. You're gonna pull. If you look at the one on the right, okay, you got handles on it, right?
Big boy.
You look at the one down at the bottom left. You're pulling it out like this, and there's reasons for that. There's ergonomic reasons.
Yes.
Safety reasons why that power module is designed in that way. Like the one down on the left, that is a very heavy power module. In theory, you should have 2 people when you pull
Correct.
that power module out of the machine.
Not only out, in.
Yeah, and
because
putting
of
it
the
in.
pins and everything, you want to make sure it's
Goes nice
done
and
the right
straight.
way.
Yes.
Smooth, a little bit of elbow grease, and gets in there.
Yeah.
Because these are not, even them, you're metal on metal, rust, they can bend. So you want to make sure it's seated in correctly.
Yeah, his point is very, very valid because on the back side, we call it the frame of the UPS. If you go to the back of it, what you'll see up and down the frame are connectors.
Yes.
And those connectors are plastic, basically. I mean,
Yes.
it's a tough plastic, you know,
Correct.
because you're pushing. But if you misalign that power module because you don't know what you're doing, or you think it's more the person thinks they know what they're
Yes.
doing, but they really don't know what they're doing, and you break one of those plastic connectors or bend a pin, guess what?
The whole thing is
Not the whole
Not working.
thing. That's one of the beauties about it. You're going to get an error that, hey, this power module is not
You can change it like a Lego,
Yes,
so to speak.
but it's a modular unit, so that one power module won't shut you down.
Exactly.
The only way to shut you down is if that one power module goes down, it takes you into overload.
and
But
you have no other power modules.
exactly.
Correct.
Okay, but if you
And-
haven't run out, go ahead.
So also to discuss now, the SYPM, all that stands for is Symmetra, which is the model, the brand, the model. PM is power module.
Yeah, you know what? And Elvis was the only person on earth that knew that. I had no idea what that stood for. All I did was just say it, right? This guy got me corrected
And
quick.
the 2 is the KVA power size. It's a 2 KVA.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 is a 4 KVA. The 10, self-explanatory, is
Hey,
a
made
10
that
KVA.
nice and easy.
Yep. 25 is a 25
25
KVA.
kVA. I'm there.
You know, you're ready. Fly like a bird. You're ready to go. You're going to sell these like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So it's very self-explanatory, these power modules. And again, this is for the APC line, and it's within the LX and the PX, which LX and PX, all it is that's their model. Like the BMW X5 or the BMW M5 or the BMW 7 Series.
Yeah.
It's just those model in the type of series of what it is, an X2. It's that. So that's what the
All the way to megawatt.
megawatt. So that's what the 10 kVA or an LX, that those power modules go in a power array or an LX, or the 2 would go in a rack mount that can do up to 6 kVA. And that's also when you talk to your customer, they say, I only need 20% or I need 2 kVA. Okay. Or like if they have an existing unit really quick, let's say it's a 10K. No, let's say it's a 8 kVA. And they say, I'm only using 10% of 8 kVA. What is that? 10% of 8?
No? Do the
Yeah.
math.
So what? Like 1 point. So they don't necessarily might need an 8K. They only might need a 4 kVA. So the numbering system is very important to understand. And so, it's a power module, and then it's the kVA size of that power module. And if a customer wants to achieve a certain amount, up to 16K, kVA is for the 4, that's what they can achieve. For the 10 kVA, you can go all the way up to 100, that they have a box that'll carry up to 100. The 25 can go up to 500.
With two.
That
with two
depends on
cabinets.
what type of load that they need to
Correct.
carry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so here.
Are you tricking us? I think you know, but you're just playing the I don't know.
But here's what's cool. It's cool to have 2 salespeople, 2 account managers on the show, because the last 2 weeks we had the technical guy on the show and we went inside of these power modules. So it's interesting to hear your dialogue versus what we've been talking about the last 2 weeks.
Correct.
It's really cool.
And I want a quick sidebar. This is a lot of stuff, and no one's going to learn it overnight. I'm still learning. I'm still a student. You're still a student. You've said it from the first episode we've ever had. We don't know it all.
I'm in kindergarten then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But welcome to the
you gotta
class.
start somewhere.
You
Gotta
exactly.
start somewhere.
So, but and the great thing is, one of our she's newer in the sales support role. She's fantastic. Avery, she said something when we were talking, and we're just kind of encouraging each other and trying to figure things out. She said, and I'm going to use a few of my words, but she said, it's difficult until it's not. And that's what this job is, and that's what it is for the first week for you guys and James, and for someone learning a new position, if it's from when they were in SST, the sales seeker role, to sales support, to assistant account manager, to account manager. It's difficult until it's not. So the more you're doing it, the more you're at it, the more you show up, the more you work, the more you grind, then you can sound all fancy and amazing like a Lenny or a Claude or a few technical terms that I could throw out myself.
Don't put me in that boat.
You
Don't
know,
put me in that boat.
Hey, you know a trick or two, because I've come to you and said, hey, this unit, we need to support it. You're like, dude, that thing's easy. Let's support it right now. I was like, really? He's like, oh yeah, that thing will last forever. Well, if I mention the best power, Toshiba, like, that's easy. That's not a hard thing. So a shout out to the people that have been here, that have started, that are in here for a few years. Someone like Liz that has been here 30 years. Someone like you guys that have been here 4 days.
Yeah, that's
and
really
someone
cool.
like you coming out of retirement. So even to Avery, to Karen, to Lindsay, to Shane, to DeAndre, to all the people that are here working and hustling, and they're learning their new position. It's difficult until it's not. And when you show up for more and more and more, it doesn't become as difficult anymore.
However, like I talked about in the beginning with the culture, I noticed that a majority of the people that I've talked to have been with Gruber for, I would say, over 5 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a long, long time.
And that says something.
And
It
that
really
says
does.
something. That's why I say the cultures, obviously there's a reason why they've stayed.
Okay, Elvis.
We're going to the
let's go
next.
ahead- Yeah, let's go ahead and try. Oh, you already changed it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on battery modules. Let's go.
So quick shout out. So quick, Lenny Hodgins said, I'm in preschool, LOL. He started laughing
Well,
when
then
you
I'm in
said
the
that.
womb then. That's what
And
Lenny
then
said.
Avery K, shout out. You're awesome. You guys are great. You make the account managers look good when you process our orders. So appreciate you guys and appreciate you. And so from power modules, it doesn't stop there. Now we need what is a really big part, and we were referencing, and you were talking about it from a small form, 1.5 volt in a watch, the battery modules, or the battery, but it's the battery modules. And the battery module is a unit assembled. It's a battery case with batteries inside, and to provide a certain high voltage. And the point of the power module is for the power, so you have power. The point of a battery module is so you have a certain amount of run time. It's the whole purpose of this. How much time do you want that UPS to run to give you? 5 minutes? 45 minutes?
Is it want
5
or is
hours?
it need? It's how much do you need, right?
It can be both.
It can be both.
Want or need?
How much do you want or how much do you need for that? For in a place for like a place of cheese factory or of wine or food, you need it. For an IT company that just wants 10, 15 minutes to do their backup, they only want a certain amount of time. They don't need 2-3 hours.
It just depends on how long you want to sleep at night.
Yes.
That's really what it boils down to.
Correct.
If you want to know that you have enough battery power to get you back to work before the juice goes dry, you can get a good night's sleep. But if you want to save a little money and cut that in half, you might get woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
That your UPS is dry, and guess what? Everything's down. So it's kind of like what you want to live with.
And these are a few versions of the battery modules. Some of them go hand in hand with some of the exact power modules we saw. So they're in the same family and they go in the same UPS unit. And then we have a few extra ones that, again, these are all that we sell, we rebuild, and we always put one way or another brand new batteries.
Yes.
They're new. They're never used, and we don't refurbish batteries, so they're new. And even if they're a few months old, they're still new because it's a new battery that's never been used inside a unit.
Can I make a quick technical point?
Please.
So if you look at the two battery modules at the bottom, you see the one on the right? Do you see the one on the right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the one on the right?
Mm-hmm. Say it again.
Okay.
Which one?
That battery
the one on the
module,
right?
Yeah, that battery module right there goes into what we call an APC Symmetra power array.
Oh, yeah.
That UPS is 30 years old.
Look at the color of it.
Okay, look at the material that was being used 30 years ago.
Plastic.
Now, the one on the left is what they're using today.
Correct.
Okay, so that is the APC Symmetra LX that replaced the power array in the field.
And they
just so
still
you know.
both exist on certain locations and customers. They
Exactly.
utilize one or the other.
Yeah.
And that is a case, plastic in that sense, or metal with batteries inside with cables and connectors that provide voltage and gives you a certain amount of oomph and runtime. And that's the whole purpose of these battery modules. And we call them that, but again, SYBT. So the SY is Symmetra, BT is battery tray.
And thank you for clarifying that. You know how long I've been here? I've been here 16 damn years and didn't know that. Wow.
And the U1 means
'cause
it
I'm-
goes into one shelf. U1, it sits on one shelf of the tray. Then
The one on the left that says the SYBT5.
that is just the 5. It's mentioned as the 5 because it goes into the APC Symmetra LX, because I believe it was the 5th UPS they brought into line as an LX, because there used to be the Power Ray, then there was a Classic, then I think there was, I might be wrong, and then the SYBT2,
Yeah, we'd have to do a historical check on that one.
But that is for the most common one, which is the LX, and that is 10 batteries inside that case.
Hey, Elvis, check out Loretta. Loretta wants us to talk about the batteries overheating. Okay, Loretta, this one's for you. Let's talk about it. Overheating batteries.
Wait, let's go up and let's talk. Let's not miss anyone. Twin mom, yay, Avery. Twin mom, Karen, you are amazing at taking care of all of us. And we are spoiled by you guys because you guys are great. Avery K. Never be afraid to ask questions. Pave your own way.
Who wrote that?
Avery. That sounds like you.
Avery, I'm going to come give you a
High
package
five.
of gummy bears for saying that.
Yes.
Never be afraid to ask questions. You know how many people are afraid to ask questions? You know, or they think their question is stupid. You guys know the slogan, right? The only stupid question is the question that you don't ask.
Exactly.
I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm like going to challenge you.
I love it.
Even if I'm right or wrong, we're going to have a conversation.
And you say, that goes with her line perfect. You say this all the time. Go to the people, use the resources we have here. We have so many resources here. Avery's a great resource. Liz is, Darren, myself, Michael Ledesma, MK, Brian Moot, so many. I mean, we can take an hour just naming off everyone here that are great resources. Brian's helped me exponentially so much. Dwayne used to help me in the beginning when I didn't know much, when I was in day one. So there's so many resources here. So let's talk about what Loretta says. Talk about batteries overheating. It's like a Barbie made of plastic but it's fantastic. He's referring to the first one. Yeah, it's the original. Why should you pull them out and call our tech line? Loretta. So yes, if you have a battery that's overheating, I mean, you have to pull it out because the battery is...
You're going to thermal runaway.
Thermal runaway. You can get erosion. They can expand. They can possibly hurt your UPS.
Could possibly start a fire.
Start a fire, explode, because it's lead acid batteries.
Yeah.
It's still a hazard. So anytime you feel, and again, we use the senses of hot overheating battery, pull it out safely.
But then don't they all have to be, if that one is bad,
No.
don't all of them have to be replaced?
Great question. No, because they serve as their own. And in that case, no. There's only 2 in certain case. In one frame, there's only 2 battery modules. In the other frame, there's 4.
Yeah.
So no, it's one at a time.
Yeah. So to the point Elvis is making, the single point of failure basically goes away in a modular unit.
Yes.
So if you have one battery that's
Correct.
out, you can pull that battery out and you still have runtime because you might have 3 or 4 other strings. Okay.
Until now,
Yeah.
speak to the same thing on a component. It's
Yeah.
not a single point.
Yeah.
It can be multiple.
And what he means by component, typically, well, most of the time in a component UPS, you have an external battery cabinet that is wired up. Okay? Totally different animal.
Yes.
Single point of failure. You have one cell, which is a battery that goes out in that string, you're down.
And
Okay,
I told them
there's
this
no battery
loose
backup.
batteries. Remember when we
Yeah.
opened that thing and I said 5 or 8 go in here and then they get cabled in? Those are loose batteries. This has a safety case, so to speak, and a chassis that keeps it together, and it's all in one. And we'll eventually relearn again about like parallel series.
And I noticed too, you were talking about how it has to be wired.
correctly.
You don't just...
No, you got to
like
MacGyver it right the correct way. Everything has, just like when you want to jump start your car, you got to put the cable in the right place.
Positive and negative.
Positive and negative. You don't want to over that. That's when you're going to get a fire. You can get a short. You can get a spark. Or you're going to get an arc flash. You never know.
James, did you guys get a chance? You guys got a chance to look inside of a battery module, right? Out in the depot? Yeah. Okay.
I showed them. Didn't I walk you guys through like how the LX, we opened up some battery cabinets. We opened up a VS battery cabinet. We opened up the Eaton battery cabinets. So I got to show them a little bit of show and tell of what they look like. And I showed them these batteries. And I can go in and show them more on the cases.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the actual populated UPS. Elvis.
Now this is the modular UPS, is that these power modules and battery modules live in.
Yeah. There you go. So the power array we were talking about is the one to the left. You can see everything is cream. That was replaced by the Symmetra LX, still in the same family, but a later version of that UPS. You can see the differences there. And then you go to the 3-phase, which is you see the 10 kVA power modules with the handle that you're going to pull in and out in the middle. Then you have an extended battery cabinet. Notice that this is an 80px, and the way that you know that is that it's fully populated
See all
with power
those?
modules. There's
Remember
no
those big bars?
Yeah, there's no internal batteries. Go back to the second unit from the left. You see the 4 battery modules on the right? Those are internal batteries because they're internal to the frame. If you look at the PX80 with all the power modules fully populated, you have an extended battery cabinet. 32 modules, 8 strings. Correct me on that. 8 strings, correct, Elvis? In that battery cabinet? PX?
PX.
Yeah, the 4th one over. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 8 strings.
Yes. 8 power modules, 8 strings.
Yeah, and then the one to the right, that's an Eaton, correct? 9170?
That is a 9170 Eaton.
Mm-hmm.
And to the questions for Jimmy, and that's what goes in there. What does the ASY stand for Eaton? My understanding, it's assembly. The battery assembly, and it's the assembly.
Okay.
That's what I know it as. And then how many batteries go into an APC SYBT5? It gets 10 of the 12 volt, 9 amp hour is what goes into the SYBT5. It's 10 volt, the 12 volt, 9 amp hour, 10 of them.
And we're talking about batteries like
The little loose batteries.
10 of those.
10 of those go inside that SYBT5. Then you can possibly save the battery modules. You can, because once you take them out, we can replace them with brand new batteries. If they're overheating, you got to take it out, and we have to do the process again and rebuild that battery module.
Yes. Okay.
So these are just a few of the units that we have: the Eaton 9170, and then a line of different APC.
Yeah.
And then there's more. There's a Liebert, there's MGE, and so these are the main units that we're always working on and we carry. And the ASY is the power modules.
Yeah, just so everyone understands, we operate in a mixed vendor environment. So there's anywhere from 15 different brands, possibly even more with all the new stuff they're coming out with, that we actually service. And that equates to 60 to 70 different models. So you can imagine the age range anywhere from 30 years all the way up to basically brand new. So you can kind of like think about how skilled we are in terms of being, I don't like to use the phrase jack of all trades. We're just better because we're seeing so many different variabilities of basically the same thing.
Want to answer those 2 questions?
Yeah.
I'll take a Jack's, you take Loretta's.
Okay. Tell them what a string is. Okay, tell them.
Good question.
All right. So let's look at the battery cabinet that's connected to the PX.
80 kVA.
The 80 kVA. You see that one, Grant, there? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's an external battery cabinet. You see 8 rows. So in this particular configuration, a string is considered 4 of the modules horizontally. Okay. So you may think, well, why aren't the other ones considered part of the string? There's actually 8 strings in this battery cabinet based off the way they're wired and connected.
Correct.
Okay, now we don't have a picture of a component UPS, but if we did, you would see the UPS itself and you would have another battery cabinet, but you would see a wiring apparatus, cables, five rows, boom, boom, boom. You're talking 100-pound batteries, 50-pound batteries, 60-pound batteries that are all wired together in series, okay? That entire series is the key word there. All 40 of those cells are considered one string.
One string.
Yeah.
Because the way they're connected together. That is a string of 4 on a shelf and each one battery module.
So there's 32 there?
Yes. 32 modules.
32 battery modules.
8 strings. Because a string is considered 4.
Correct.
Okay.
And there, you take one out. APC and industry standards, if you take one out from that string, you want to replace all of them together, but you can just take one out at a time.
And why do you want to go ahead and talk about that? Why do you want to replace all of them?
Because of the age of the batteries.
Yeah.
So you don't want to mix and match. It's just like in this. If you have 2 batteries, you take the old one and the one, it won't really work, or it won't work properly, or it's not going to work to its maximum
but it's also
expectation.
Charging
too.
Charging is the reason why.
The main reason,
because
the charging.
If you put a hot one in there, and what I mean by hot is the thing is just brand new, ready to go, boom. That thing's going to hit its trickle quick, and it's going to stop charging. But what about the 3 that are weak?
That are a year old or 2 years
Kind of like
old?
a flat, it reminds me of going camping with a flashlight when
Or vice versa.
Yes.
The charger could work to charge up the 3 that are weak and overcharge, damage the one that's healthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how many power modules do you need in a UPS to be powered on? So that depends, and here's why. Let's say for the LX, where we have 4 power modules, and it's really 5 power modules, and then 4 battery modules. If you're only running at the load is the most important thing. For that LX, that's a 16 kVA. If you're only running at 2 kVA, let's say, you only need 1. But if you're running in at 6 kVA, you will need 2 power modules.
Yeah.
So it depends what load is needed to how many power modules you need. If it's only 5 kVA, then for the big 80 kVA, you only need 1 power module because that gives you 10 kVA of power.
And here's the other thing. You hear Elvis keep referring to the L word. The L word is load. So what load equates to is the number of devices that you want to connect. And
Yes.
you add up the amps and you come up with what a load percentage might be.
Correct.
Okay? So that's what he's explaining there.
They only need a certain amount of power.
Is that
Or-
where, if I read it correctly or got trained on it, you need 80%? Is that where you only really need up to
necessar-
80%?
No, no. Well, you're talking tolerance now. Okay? What you
The
should-
furthest you can push your
Yeah,
UPS.
It's really 75%. So you really don't want to run your UPS over 75% load. You really don't, because if something happens and you're not equipped for it, it'll go out of tolerance. It'll overload. Okay, so you always want to leave a gap to where if something happens like that, it can absorb it. Okay, and then you get the repair done, you get the power module replaced, that type of thing. You've heard him talk about redundancy.
Yes.
That's what redundancy is for. So you have that extra power module that kicks in.
Backup plan.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we stand. And that's why with power modules and battery modules, so these are some UPSs that we have these available, and that's why we even have our test banks. We replace them, we repair them, and good stuff with Grubers, we have our warranties.
Yeah.
So we'll take care of you. We don't leave you out to dry. We have a lot of good procedures, which you guys have been exposed to and learning all different types.
All right, Jesse, you can put us back to the backdrop screen.
Uh-oh.
Oh, look at those guys. Look at those guys.
Uh-oh.
So that's going to
Danger.
conclude. Yeah, hey, first of all, thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's always great. It's always great to work with you guys. You guys
yeah.
are fun. But I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be out next week. So you're going to see Elvis reappear out of the box, and also Lenny. You all know Lenny Hodges. He'll be back on the set. So it'll be those two taking you out next week. So until then, goodbye. Peace.
And these guys are looking dapper. I
Thanks
have
a
to
lot.
say that. Look at
Right?
these two
Thank you.
regal. I thought you guys were running for office or something, or trying to like start your own place. You
Yeah,
guys look.
I walked in here this morning, and the first comment I got, "You look like a priest." I go, "No, I don't. No, I don't."
A preacher man. He didn't like that. He's like,
You
no,
know,
not
I would have been perfectly fine with preacher, but a priest? It's like, what?
I was told I looked like I was in the FBI, so
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, you're good with that one.
I thought
That's
you were
awesome.
Secret Service. I thought Claude hired his own bodyguard for the day. I was like, we're not that bad here. We're pretty safe. I love it.
Yeah.
You guys look great.
All right, you guys, we'll see you.
Have a good one.